This feels like the third time in a row that something major in the GD community has happened and I've been asleep for it, but sadly that's kind of just the norm with my time zone. But we're gonna be talking about something that happened recently regarding RobTop himself, because as you know, every once in a while RobTop decides to kind of rate a bunch of majorly important levels at the same time, and last night we actually saw that happen, so I want to go through all the different important levels that RobTop rated. From what I know, there is currently 3 that I want to talk about, so I'm just going to be talking about them here. Now, the first one we're going to mention involves the player Nepesta. Now, this guy, I don't need to explain who Nepesta is, you know him, and recently he's been on a very cool grind. He's been beating some very hard levels like Verdant Landscape, and he actually is nearly beating PooCube now. He's been doing some really hard stuff. He has a bunch of other extremes to his belt that he hasn't published on his channel, but he is just, actually back in the community. But a bit before this, around a year ago to 8 months ago, he was actually playing a lot of platformer levels. As you can see, he says one of his favorite extreme demons, actually it was his favorite extreme demon at the time, I don't know if it is now, is Dead of Night, which is a platformer. But that's besides the point, because around this time he also was trying to verify his own platformer, which would be top 1, hopefully, if it got rated. And that level is Cave of the Scarlet Sky by Madison Yuko, and as you can see here, he poured a lot of attempts into this level. He spent nearly 150 streams on it. And I feel like anything past 100 streams when playing a level shows very much a very high level of determination, and he just had it. He was able to finally do it. This was after over 160,000 attempts, which, to compare it, a lot of the people who are playing Tidal Wave right now and getting major runs on it have around this amount of attempts or a bit less. So yeah, he has been very dedicated to beating this. Now, I'm playing a task bot here, which is going to beat it basically in the fastest possible time. So ignore that it's going very fast. That's just not how it would play in an actual run. However, yeah, this was what he was beating, and I think that Madison Yuko knocked out the park here. I think this is one of the best platformers for its time. It had this kind of color scheme that I haven't really seen done as well as it did in a GD level before. It's very cold, it's very ominous, it's kind of got its own style to it. I feel like a lot of the platformers kind of blend in together, they all kind of feel the same. This one felt distinctly different, and I really liked it, okay? And everyone got hyped when this thing actually got verified. Now, the sad thing is that as soon as platformer players got their hands on this level, they gave it a shot, and the top players said that this was probably nowhere near top 1. In fact, after Nepesta spent nearly 150 streams on this, the top players in the scene beat it in pretty much a day. I don't even think it was a day before it got beaten, or if it was like a day. It was super, super fast, and I feel kind of bad for him, but it was more of a personal achievement than anything, right? But it was still a very, very hard level, and we were just waiting for it to get rated so it can place on the P-Moon list, which is the platformer version of the Demon list. However, RobTop just never gave this one a rate, which I know that's the norm for platformer levels. They usually never get rated. However, this one was specifically a very, very popular one. It was verified by one of the most popular players in the game, and it was created by a very popular creator in Madison Yuko, who gets a lot of platformer rates. Not as much classics, which we will get into. However, this had every right to be rated, and it just never was, which is really sad to see. So yeah, it's really cool that it's finally actually gotten its rate. However, I am going to mention Madison's comment here because, I mean, Madison created the level. I don't see why I shouldn't. But it's kind of bittersweet, this rate, because yes, it's cool that it's finally rated, but literally a day before this happened, Madison commented on Twitter saying, "Fun fact, my most recently released classic level that's gotten rated is Midnight 2 years ago." That is, for how good Madison is at creating, that is a scary amount of time without a rate. And then Madison goes on to say, "Since then, Moonflower, Plastic Death, Methanol Fire, Kyoto Garden, True Love Waits, and Far Apart have all come out and have not been rated somehow." And I can tell you that a lot of these levels have a lot of people backing up wanting them rated, and or are just like actually rate worthy or feature worthy or epic worthy. Like these are really good levels, and it's kind of sad to see that Madison wants classic rates, and then literally the next day RobTop's like, ooh, let's rate what are your platformer levels. Like it feels a bit of a nudge. You can say Madison isn't taking it the best. I'm sure Madison isn't taking it too seriously, but again, it's kind of just a bit funny how this happened this time. But nonetheless, it's still amazing that it actually finally got a rate. Madsen also says, are we getting this Cave of the Scarlet Sky video now, right? To Nepesta, which, if you don't know, Nepesta still hasn't made the movie slash kind of rewind of Cave of the Scarlet Sky. He's promised to release it in the future, but I don't know actually when or if there's a set date, but you can be expecting that, hopefully, maybe, or maybe he's given up on it. I don't actually know the lore of that currently. The next one we're going to talk about is Shroomy, and before you click off, I know, this one and the next one are both platformers. Every level we're talking about here is a platformer. However, I just want to preference that, one, these are very important platformers, it's not just some random one, but the thing is, this is really big because RobTop is known for never rating platformers. Like, RobTop could rate a bunch of classic levels every day and go weeks without giving a single rate to a platformer. It's a very imbalanced kind of rating system he has here, and I know that there's going to be a lot more star rated levels than there's going to be platformers, right? Because more people make levels in classic than platform mode. It just makes sense. But that doesn't mean there's not many levels that are rate worthy for platformer. In fact, there's actually probably a similar amount to classic just because of how long he goes without rating them. So when we do see rates for platformer, it's actually really interesting and really important. But yeah, this is Shroomy. Shroomy is one of the top players in platformer mode. Shroomy is cracked at the game, and a month ago, he was able to verify Nautical Nightmares, which is a top 1 level, and not like Cave of the Scarlet Sky, where it was thought to be top 1, but it ended up not being. This was the top 1, and I made a video on it. I got into VC, a public VC with Shroomy afterwards, and actually talked to him. It was cool, but yeah, this was a really major achievement. Okay, one, if we ignore this this live stream layout, this is the most cooked live stream layout I've seen in a while. This is like extra nuggies level of weird. But the crazy thing is, this was verified in 56,000 attempts, which is not a lot for a top 1. I know it's platformer mode, so the way you grind attempts is a lot less than usual compared to if you were playing a classic level, I would assume. However, the thing is, if you look at Nepesta's attempt count, a level that was much easier, I know he has less practice, but still, the difference is 160,000 to 56,000. And I'm happy that it only went a month without getting rated, because Shroomy probably cares about top play more than most people in the platforming community, so it's glad to see that he'll get a bit more recognition now with, you know, the fact that it's actually gotten rated fairly recently, and you can see this is probably going to end up being his most popular video, which makes sense. It's top 1. I'm proud of him. As you can see, it's number 1 on the platformer demon list, above Diamonds for Dashers and Delightful Climb, which were 2 top 1s before. And it's above Monitoring. That's another level that I made a video on that got verified that it was a potential chance of being top 1. However, it ended up not being top 1 because, you know, it actually ended up being more top 5, which shows how close every level kind of is on the platforming demon list. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but the fact that a top 1 can be mistaken as a top 5 is kind of funny to me, and vice versa. But yeah, it's really cool. This is kind of like the definitive top 1. From what I know, I've been told that most people agree that this is top 1. There isn't any debate on it, so yeah, it's really cool to see. And lastly, we have Ultimate GD Night here. Now, this one is a lot less important than the other two if you're just looking at like how it's affecting the platforming community and top play, right? It is a top 100 on the platforming list, right? But I just think this level is so cool because if you've played FNAF, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It was known for that kind of office-style gameplay where you stay in the one place the whole time, and it actually turned into a very popular thing. I feel like after the games started to move towards their own free roaming kind of thing, a lot of people stuck with this style, and they actually created their own list for top play called the max mode list, and this is kind of replicating those customized office style games in GD, and it's really cool to see. And it's also really impressive because watching these kind of videos is funny because sometimes a lot of stuff will come up on your screen and you're like, how do these people know what is happening here? Like, there's so many button presses and clicks and stuff going on in this video. Like, I don't know how he knows like what to do here. Just because there's no objects in the level, it might look like it's easier than it seems, but like, trust me, there's a lot going on here. Every single movement here and camera flip and button press, it is all very meaningful, and if it doesn't happen, they're probably gonna lose, right? So it's really cool to see that we have this kind of thing in GD, but I don't really have much more to say. It's cool that this got on the GD News Center server, because I think that this does need attention. I've seen a bunch of people, and I kid you not, this is a real thing. I'm sure everyone who's gotten to the end of this video doesn't care if it's platform or classic, but around half of my audience will just click off on a video as soon as they find out it's platformer mode. Which is kinda sad, because it just means this entire community is being cut off from half the GD sphere because they just don't find it important, even though there is people spending the same, if not way more dedication than what the classic community is doing to verify these levels, and they're still really cool, and they're on GD, but just no one cares about them because they're platformer. And I just think that's really sad. I just find their mindset very flawed, because you don't play the top ones, so why do you care for them? Right? It's the achievement, it's the spectacle, which is what the platforming levels also have, but people refuse to care about them because they don't play them. It's kind of this double standard I'm not really fond of, but that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank yous so much for watching all the way through and actually caring about platformers. Hopefully the next event that happens in the game is actually happening when I'm awake, so I can make a video on the hour. But I mean, I guess what can I do here? RobTop rates levels around midnight or later for me, so I can't really do much. But yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and peace.